Hey guys, I'm back with another episode of Top 3 Tuesdays. Check out what we got this week right after this. Alright guys, this week's topic is Top 3 DC Comics games. And if it's not very apparent already, I'm a huge Batman fan. So I had to put a special stipulation on this list to just avoid being a list of best Batman games. Because let's be honest, the Arkham games are the peak of DC Comics games by a long shot. So I thought I'd make it a special rule to just avoid Batman-centric games because Batman could have his own list of best games. He seems to get the pick of the good games. So I decided to go with ones showcasing other heroes or a bunch of the heroes as a whole. So without further ado, let's see what we got. First up, we're going to go with The Death and Return of Superman on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Now, Superman is one of the most popular heroes in the world, let alone DC Comics. But he always seems to get the crappy end of the stick when it comes to good video games. He's got some notably terrible ones, such as Superman 64 and a couple others that are pretty lame. But this is a diamond in the rough as far as Superman games goes. It's a beat-em-up from 1994 that was released by Sunsoft and developed by Blizzard. It's a adaptation of the 1993 comic event that saw the exact same thing happen, and it's a pretty awesome beat 'em up. It's one player, but that it makes up for it by letting you play as 5 different Supermen. You play as the original Superman, the Eradicator, the Cyborg Superman, Superboy, and the Man of Steel, also known as just Steel after this event. And yes, that's the Steel that the Shaquille O'Neal movie was based off of, even though they took all Superman related things out of it. It was pretty crappy, but back to the game. It's got 10 levels and it's pretty varied, although the enemies are of normal beat 'em up style where you fight the same enemies pretty much the whole game. They switch it up a bit with having a little bit of like side-scrolling shoot 'em up levels that are super easy. There's like no way you could die on these levels. There's a health pickup like every 10 seconds, and honestly, you just hold the shoot button down and destroy everything in your path. It's pretty cool to play as all the Superman. They don't really have much different styles of fighting, really, except for the Man of Steel, because he carries a sledgehammer, so he just beats everyone up with his hammer. But the others, the only difference in them, really, is their super move that they use to dispatch big crowds or someone who's just being a pain in your ass. It's a really cool game. It's not as good as like I'd say games like Batman Returns, but it is a good game in its own right, and one I'm definitely glad to have in my collection. So definitely check it out if you need some more beat 'em up action. My next pick is Injustice: Gods Among Us. Injustice is a fighting game developed by NetherRealm Studios, the makers of Mortal Kombat, and is a continuation of what they started with, Mortal Kombat vs. DC. Not story-wise, but as far as the project goes, I think they were just testing the waters with Mortal Kombat vs. DC. Injustice came out in 2013, and as I stated, it was developed by NetherRealm Studios. It features 30 characters, a lot of ones you'd expect to see: Batman, Superman, Green Arrow, basically the Justice League and the Teen Titans. So it's a pretty sweet list of heroes, as well as all the villains you'd expect, like Solomon Grundy, General Zod, Doomsday, Bane, Lex Luthor, the Joker, of course. And what really got me about this game is the story. This might be my favorite story in fighting games. It continues in the second one, but what started here is what really gripped me. In a twist that you wouldn't normally expect to see in a DC game, Superman is actually the main bad guy in this game. After the Joker tricks him into killing Lois Lane and blowing up Metropolis, he loses his mind and kills the Joker, and basically pretty much takes over the world and starts his own like regime task force where he just like controls everything like a crazy dictator. It's kind of amazing to see Superman in that light as a bad guy. He makes a pretty good one, a pretty formidable one. So then Batman tasks himself with basically pulling in all the heroes from a different, basically from the normal DC universe, and starting a task force to take him out. It's an amazing story. I'm doing it no justice here, but it plays awesome, just like you'd expect a game from NetherRealm Studios to play, and it's probably the best story I've ever played in a fighting game. NetherRealm's been pretty on point with their last few Mortal Kombats and the Injustice games, so definitely check it out if you like fighting games and haven't already. For my last pick, I've decided to go with Justice League Heroes. Now, as the name states, this game's all about the entire Justice League. It's pretty awesome action RPG developed by Snowblind Studios, the makers of the Champions of Norath games. It runs off the Dark Alliance engine that they used to make the Baldur's Gate games 1 and 2 and Champions of Norath and the sequel. So it's a pretty awesome action RPG. It'll remind me a lot of Marvel's Ultimate Alliance, but that's a good thing. It's a 2-player rather than a 4-player, which is a bit of a bummer with the teams that are on show here. At first, you start off, it doesn't really let you pick your team. You start off as Batman and Superman, then you test out Zatanna and the Martian Manhunter. But there's quite a few heroes you can play as throughout the game. After a while, it lets you pick your teams. As far as the starting roster goes, you got Batman, Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Zatanna, Green Lantern, the Jon Stewart version, and Martian Manhunter. But as you go along, you unlock points to buy more characters and not DLC, because PS2 was awesome like that. We got Aquaman, Black Canary, Green Arrow, Hawkgirl, the Huntress, Supergirl, and 2 more variations of the Green Lantern, being Kyle Rayner and Hal Jordan. The story takes you through a bunch of popular locales throughout the DC universe, so you get to see a little bit of everyone's world and rogues galleries, such as Gorilla Grodd, like really obscure ones like him, and stuff like Doomsday, Darkseid, Brainiac, and the like, Lex Luthor, stuff like you'd expect. The story overall is pretty cool, and it's got a decent length. It's not as long as maybe something like Ultimate Alliance or one of the Baldur's Gate games, but it is pretty cool and fleshed out and a lot of fun. There's nice skill trees that you can upgrade just like in Ultimate Alliance, and it's honestly a lot of fun. I wish they'd do another one of these because I had a really good time with this one. And that's it for my list. I hope I didn't make anyone too angry by not including any Batman-centric games, but I think I might do a list sooner or later with the top Batman games. It might not even be a top 3, it might just be a top 10, because there's a lot of awesome Batman games that need to be brought to light, not just the Arkham games. So let me know what you think. What's your top 3 DC Comics games? You can even include Batman on yours if you want. I don't care. This is just what I decided to do with it. As always, don't forget to check out Chris the Old Ass Retro Gamer's video on the same topic, and until next time, I'll see you later.